Hit it, hit it.
Welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make these really great retro ornament scrubbies. These little scrubbies are perfect for the gift-giving season. You can partner them up with a bar of soap and give them away to a friend, or maybe it would be a perfect little housewarming gift to somebody that you're going over to their house for dinner. Anyway, they are absolutely perfect. There is a variety of colors available in the Red Heart Scrubby yarn for you to choose from, so you don't have to choose these colors that are in the demonstration video or the colors I'm going to be using. You can choose anything you want. Maybe you want to try and match it up to their decor, or you want to do something really whimsical and fun and do a bunch of rainbows. Totally up to you. You can do whatever you want. The materials for this project are available over at redheart.com, as well as the pattern, which is free. You can find the link right down there in the video notes. And all I need you to do now is download the pattern, go ahead and gather your materials, join me back here, and I'll get you started on this really great retro ornament scrubby. The first thing you're going to notice with this pattern is that it includes two color sequences for the same ornament. The instructions are the exact same for both of these ornaments, but by choosing the different color sequence, you get a completely different look. Now, there's enough yarn in each ball of Red Heart Scrubby to complete both of these scrubbies. So you don't need two balls of each color. You still only need one ball of each color, and you'll get both ornaments. Now, having said that, I also want to give you the okay that it's okay to change the colors. You don't have to stick with these colors. You can choose any color you want. So for today, for example, I'm choosing colors that are perfect for my mom's kitchen as a way to say thank you for allowing me to use her holiday or decorations for my holiday videos. And I think that's a great way to say thank you. Go ahead and look down here. We're going to get started on these retro ornament scrubbies. I'm going to move these two ornaments out of the way, and for this ornament I'm going to begin with color sequence for number 2. So I'm beginning with my color C, which is blue, and I'm going to put a slip knot onto my hook. Now, if you need a refresher for a slip knot, you can find the videos for slip knots right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. I'm also using one size bigger hook than the pattern suggests for the videos alone, just because I feel like it's easier for you to see the stitches if I make them a little bit bigger. So I have my slip knot on my hook, and I'm going to begin with the chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this yarn has some eyelash to it, obviously, and it makes it difficult to see the stitches. So the best thing you can do is if you use your fingertips and you can feel where the chains are, you can feel the V of the chain. Another thing to do is, do you remember those pictures where you had to kind of let your eyes kind of unfocus in order to have the picture come into focus? If you sort of do that with these stitches where you make it so that the eyelash parts, you don't focus on those, you will be able to see the space where you're able to put your hook for the actual chain or the stitches. So right here, I'm going to put my hook into the first chain I created, and I'm going to join with a slip stitch. And what this is going to do is it's going to be able to create a ring. So now I have a ring I can start working into right there. Okay, so going on to round 1, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to pause right here, and I'm going to grab a stitch marker, and I'm going to place it into the third chain I created, which is the loop. It's the chain behind the loop that's on my hook. The reason I'm marking that stitch is because that is going to be a double crochet. I know that that's a double crochet, and it's where I'm going to join with a slip stitch at the end of my round. By marking it now, it allows me to easily find that stitch at the end of my round to work into. The next part of the instructions say I'm going to put a double crochet into the ring right here. So I have this nice ring I've created, so I don't have to worry about finding any of those chains. I just put my hook directly into the ring, and I go ahead and I complete a double crochet. I'm going to do 11 of these double crochets right here into this ring. Go ahead and do your 11 double crochets. Join me back here, and we'll jump in for round 2. You have your 11 double crochets. Let's go ahead and jump in and start round 2. To finish off the first round, we need to put a slip stitch into the 3rd chain of our beginning chain, and that's where it's really useful that we've already marked that stitch. So I can go ahead and I can come over here and I can put my hook directly into that marked stitch. And if I was doing just the same color, I would yarn over my hook, pull through the loop on my hook. But because I'm following a color sequence, this is where I want to change colors. So I've gone ahead, I've put my hook into the chain. I'm going to go ahead and cut this color, and I'm going to leave at least 6 inches, okay? It makes it easier to weave in later on. And I'm going to grab the next color in my color sequence, which is color A for me, which is a green color. So I'm going to yarn over my hook with my next color, pull through, and then pull through the loop on my hook. So now not only have I joined so that I have a full circle, but I have my new color ready to go on my hook, okay? I'm going to move on. So round 2, I go ahead and I start off with the chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And as I read on, it says this counts as a half double crochet in a chain 1. So I'm going to grab my next stitch marker. I'm going to count 1, 2 chains, put my stitch marker into the 2nd chain, knowing that the 3rd chain is a chain 1. And I'm going to end this round by joining to the 2nd chain of my 3 chains. So now I've marked it, I can go into it very easily at the end of the round. Now that I've marked it, I can move on. I'm going to put a half double crochet into the next stitch. So I'm going to leave my marker there. I'm going to find the next stitch, and I can see it right here. I can see the post. I'm going to put my, see right there, you see the post? So I know that that's my stitch, and I can feel it. And I know that if I come up here to the top and I put my hook into that hole, I can see my V right here. I know it might be difficult for you to see, but I have 2 strands, which is the normal top of my stitch of the V. And so I'm in the right stitch, and so I can yarn over and work my half double crochet. All right, so the next part says that I'm going to chain 1 and do a half double crochet in the next stitch. So I find the next stitch over and I find the space, it's right there, go in, and I complete my half double crochet. Chain 1 and do it into the next stitch. I'm going to do this all the way around into each stitch, working a chain 1, half double crochet, and at the end of the round I'm going to join with a slip stitch into my marked stitch. Go ahead and do this, join me back here, and I'll get you started on round 3. You're at the end of round 2, it's time to start round 3. At the end of round 2, I've just finished my half double crochet, so I need to do a chain 1, and I'm going to join into the 2nd chain of my beginning chain, which is what I have marked here, and this is where I would join with the slip stitch. But my color sequence says I need to go back to my first color, which was color C. Now at this point you might be asking me, Marley, why didn't you just carry up the yarn instead of cutting it? Now the reason I chose to cut the yarn is because I don't like the idea of having floats hanging on. That's where the yarn comes from this row and goes past the green row up to my next row. On scrubbies, okay, I like to have all of those ends woven in nicely, so that's why I cut my yarn. Now you can see there I yarned over with my new color, pulled through the marked stitch, and I pulled through the loop on my hook. So now my work is joined in the round, I have my new color ready to go, and I'm ready to start my round 3. I go ahead and I do my chain 2, and this is my first half double crochet. So once again, I'm going to grab a marker and I'm going to put it into the 2nd chain I created. Now you can use the same marker up the whole row. I'm choosing to leave mine attached as I go along, just so that you at home, as you're watching the videos, you can see where I am in the video, so you have a point of reference. So I'm leaving those attached. Now I've gone ahead, I've done my chain 2, and that says that counts as a half double crochet. And now it says I want to put 2 half double crochets in the next chain 1 space. I love working into the chain 1 space because I don't have to search for any of the actual stitches. So I have this nice big space right there, and I'm going to just go ahead and put 2 half double crochets in that big space. I'm not working into any actual stitch, just the space. So there I go, 2 half double crochets in the next space. Now I'm going to do a half double crochet in the next stitch. So this is where, just like on the row before, I find my stitch. So there's my post. I can see right there's the top of my stitch. I go in and I complete my half double crochet. And then it says to go ahead and I'm going to do a half double crochet, or I'm going to do 2 half double crochets in the next chain 1 space. Just like I did before, I find the next chain 1 space and do 2 half double crochets. And I'm going to repeat this all the way around. So I find my post stitch, or not the post, I'm sorry, I find the actual stitch, and then I go to the chain 1 space and I do 2 half double crochets. Go into the stitch and do a half double, and then go into the next chain 1 space and do 2 half doubles. Go ahead and finish this round putting a half double into each stitch and 2 half doubles into each chain 1 space, and join me back here before round 4 and I'll get you started and going on round 4. You're at the end of round 3. Let's go ahead and join this up and begin round 4. I'm at the end of my round 3 and I'm going to join with the slip stitch into my marked stitch right there, which is the second chain I began with. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut my working yarn because it's time for me to change colors again in my color sequence to my next color, which is my color B, which I'm going to use white for. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull through with my new color into my slip stitch. So I've joined my round and I've gone ahead and I have my new color on my hook, so I'm ready to get started. So for round 4, we're going to get started with the chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go ahead and place my marker just like always into the 3rd chain I just created. So I have it in there and I'm going to make sure that's closed. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do a double crochet into the same stitch that I just joined into. So luckily I didn't remove my marker, and so I'm able to still go into that same stitch that I originally joined into and work a double crochet. Now I'm going to put a double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So there's 1, and then 1 in the next stitch. We're going to carry on like this for the rest of the pattern in the sense of we're going to do 2 double crochets in the next one. So 1, 2, and then we'll put 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. What this is going to do is it's going to increase your rounds with it's going to increase your rounds, let's try this one more time, in intervals so that it will lay flat. Your circle will lay flat. So as long as you do 2 double crochets in 1 stitch and then 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, your circle will lay flat. If you don't do that, you will get a hot mess. Trust me on that. So when it's all complete, you're going to end up with 48 double crochets. Go ahead and complete this round and get all 48 double crochets, knowing that on the very last join, we are not going to change colors because we're going to join with a slip stitch and then finish off our work so that way we can join our next color into a different spot. Okay, so go ahead, finish this round, and we'll get started for round 5. You're at the very end of round 4. Let's go ahead and join it, and I'm going to show you how to join with a standing double crochet worked into the back post. All right? You can see here I'm at the end of round 4, and it's time for me to join with the slip stitch into my marked stitch, which is the 3rd chain of my beginning chain 3. I'm not going to change colors this time, remember, because I'm going to finish off my work. So I'm going to go ahead and yarn over with my working color, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and so I could do 1 more chain. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to cut my yarn and set this aside and finish off my work. So I'm just going to pull that up. Now at this point I have all these nice tails going on. It looks good. I'm not worried about anything. Everything looks really great, okay? And it's time for me to go on to round 5. Now I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing here in round 5. As I pull over the sample, you can see here that we have this nice pink color, and you can see where the orange pops through on this side, and it looks like the pink has a nice little ridge going along. That's created by doing back post stitches. So we're going to get our color A, which for me is green, and we're going to do back post stitches around row 4. So we're going to do it around the post of the white stitches we just created. It's going to create this nice little texture here of a bump, but then it also gives this really great visual appeal of the orange color coming into the inside of this bump, or for us it will be a nice green color. So I'm going to set this aside, and we're going to begin with a standing double crochet worked into the post stitch. And I'm going to show you how to do that. It's really not that difficult. We're going to begin with the color we want, and we're going to start off with a slip knot. So I'm going to go ahead, just like before, I'm putting a slip knot onto my hook, and I'm going to prepare my hook as if I was doing a double crochet. So if this was attached to our work, in order to do a double crochet, we would yarn over our hook. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm just going to hold that loop. I'm going to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Now, working into any stitch, any of the post stitches with my right side facing me, and I know this is my right side, 1, because my markers are there, and 2, because all my tails are on the opposite side, I'm going to find a stitch. So let's use that stitch right there. Can you see it? And we're going to work a double crochet post. So it's a back post double crochet. So I have my slip stitch on my hook, my yarn over. I'm going to take my hook, and coming from the back, I'm going to come up. I'm going to go around that post and go out to the left of it and through. So it brings the post to the back of the stitch. If you want instructions on how to do a back post double crochet, you can totally find those right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel if you want more instructions than this. So I've put my hook through. I'm going to yarn over my hook, and now I want my hook to travel back through that same path. So I'm going to come out the left side, over top, out the right side, and back. I'm going to pull my yarn so that way I make sure that my loop that I originally had on my hook is nice and tight. If it's too loose, it looks sloppy. I have 3 loops on my hook, and now I complete just like any normal double crochet. I yarn over my hook, pull through 2 stitches, yarn over my hook, pull through 2 stitches, and I'm left with a full double crochet. So instead of beginning with a slip stitch and chains, I have a full double crochet already completed. Just like before, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to grab my marker, and I'm going to put it into the top of that double crochet, so that way I know that's where I'm going to join into. See, it's right there. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do a back post double crochet all the way around here. So I move over to the next posts of the next double crochet, and I'm going to work my back post double crochet. So I've yarned over my hook, go into the right side, over top, out the left side, yarn over, follow that same path, and out, and do my double crochet. The only thing that makes this double crochet different than any others is the placement. I'm going around the post of each stitch instead of going through the stitches on top. The stitches on top are actually what are going to create that nice little ridge to give that really great 3-dimensional texture to the ornament scrubby. I'm just going along into each of the double crochets I completed from the row below. So round 4, I'm going into each one of the double crochets completed on round 4, working a back post double crochet around each one. And as I keep going along here, I'm going to do one more, and I'm going to set this down. I'm going to show you what I mean about the color peeping through, which will be perfect. Set this down. You can see here that the green is starting to really pop through a little bit through the white, and it's showing up out there. Go ahead and complete this round of back post double crochets. Join me back here, and we will finish this up with round 6. Those back post double crochets are fun, aren't they? They really start to make your ornament really pop and look really great. The scrubby is going to be perfect. I'm at the end of my round 5. I'm ready to start my round 6. Look down here. I'm going to get you going as well. You can see here that I've done my back post double crochets all the way around, and it's time for me to join with the slip stitch into the very first back post double crochet I completed. Now, it's hard for me to get a slip stitch into that stitch with that marker in there, so I'm going to take the marker out, and I'm going to go ahead and put my slip stitch right there, but I'm going to change colors to my very last color change. So I'm going to go ahead, cut my yarn, and I'm going to grab my next color, which is the first color I started with, and I'm back to my blue. I'm going to yarn over with my blue, pull that through, and pull it through the loop that's on my hook. Now I'm ready to go with my blue. Now for round 6, what we're going to do here as I pull in the ornament is we're going to work half double crochets in a certain interval all the way down till we get down here. We're going to do a double crochet, and then we're going to do a treble, and then we're going to do a cluster, and then we will do a treble crochet in the next stitch, a double crochet in the next stitch, and work all the way back up, and then do this loop right here. So this cluster and working the double, treble, and then the cluster, treble, double, we're going to create the point of the ornament. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to start off right here with my blue. Make sure I have it in hand. Don't worry about all those ends. You can weave those in after we're all done. I'm going to start off with a chain 2. So chain 1, chain 2, and that counts as a half double crochet. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to mark it. So I'm just putting my marker into the second chain that I completed in my beginning 2 chains. Now it says I need to do a half double crochet in the same stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, go into the same stitch that I did my slip stitch into, and work my half double crochet. All right. Now it says I'm going to do 2 half double crochets, or do a half double crochet in the next stitch. So I'm going to go to the next stitch over and do a half double. And now I'm going to do 2 half double crochets in the next stitch. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to put 2 half doubles. So 1, 2. And then I'm going to put a half double in the next stitch. So go to the next one and do 1. Now all of this says I need to do this 10 times. So that's 1. So I'm going to do that a multiple of 10 more times, okay? So I think I'm down to where I have 10 total, okay? And in order to check, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up here to the beginning, and I'm going to figure this out by counting my post. So that was my initial half double crochet into the same stitch, and then there's my half double crochet in the next stitch, and this is where I'm going to begin counting my 10. So there's my 2 in the same stitch and 1. 2 in the same stitch and 1, that's 2. 2 in the same stitch and 1, that's 3. 2 in the same stitch and 1, that's 4. 2 in the same stitch and 1, that's 5. 2 in the same stitch and 1, that's 6. 2 in the same stitch and 1, that's 7. 2 in the same stitch and 1, that's 8. 2 in the same stitch and 1, that's 9. So I've got to complete one more here. So I'm going to go, there's 1, 2 in the same stitch, and 1, that's my 10 total. So I have the ones I completed at the beginning, and then my 10 total. So by 10 times all the instructions that are in the bracket. Now it says I need to do a double crochet in the next stitch. So I'm going to work, oh, that just did a half double because I'm used to it. There's my double crochet. And then I'm going to do a treble in the next stitch. So I yarn over my hook twice, go into the next stitch and do my treble. So 1, 2, 3. And now it says to do a cluster. And the cluster instructions are written on the front of the pattern, but I yarn over my hook twice, and I'm going to go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. So I did that twice, and now I do that again. So I yarn over my hook twice, go into the next stitch over, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. And I have 3 loops left on my hook, and I'm going to go ahead and draw through all 3 loops. So that's how I do a treble. It's a cluster is what she has written on there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a treble next to the cluster. And then I'm going to do a double crochet. And now I'm working backwards. So I'm going to do 2 half doubles. So 1, 2, and a half double in the next one. I'm going to do that 10 times total again. I'm here. I'm to the end of my 10 repeats right there of what was in the bracket, and it says I need to join with the slip stitch into the second chain of my beginning chain, which is what I have marked right there. So I'm going to join with my slip stitch, not changing color at all, but I do not fasten off. So I'm right there. I've chained or joined with my slip stitch, and now I need to chain 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then I'm going to join with the slip stitch again into the same space that I did a slip stitch before. And now I can go ahead and do my chain 1 to finish off my work right here and snip my yarn, pull that through, and I have finished off my work. See? I have a nice little chain there, so I can loop that onto a sink if I would like to do that. And I'm removing all of my stitch markers now because I don't need them anymore at all. I want to show you how this is going to look. So here we are, we have our nice finished ornament, all nice and neat. It's all beautiful. And we have our nice little ridge right here of the white with the black back post double crochets peeping through. If I flip this over, you can see all of my tails hanging out here. And I will say that given this yarn that it is the eyelash kind of yarn with the scrubby nodules, I like to actually just tie the two ends together, and if I tie them into a nice knot, and then I can weave them in really easily, and I don't have to worry about it coming undone because this yarn really likes to stick really well. And I don't typically put knots in my work, but I feel like I'm okay to do that with this particular yarn. Just about any eyelash yarn like this, I'm able to do knots in, and I don't have any problems with it coming undone. So I would just knot up the colors and then put these onto a large eye tapestry needle and weave them through, just, you know, down and back, and snip them up real nice and tight. And you have yourself a really nice little ornament going on. I hope you enjoyed today's video and you are going to make yourself several little retro ornament scrubbies. And don't forget that the instructions are the exact same for this scrubby. It's just a different color sequence. So you can choose to do any color sequence you want. You don't have to stick with 3 colors. You could choose to do like 5 colors, 6 colors, maybe a color for each round. Whatever you want to do, just make it your own and have a fun time making them. I hope you enjoyed this video and you'll come back for more. Check out some of the other beautiful scrubby videos that are right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. I'm Marley Bird for redheart.com. Thank you.